model to determine whether the stock was over or undervalued. To do this, I needed to predict how quickly wireless telephone adoption in Mexico would occur. In 2002, 25% of the Mexican population had adopted wireless, up from 1% just 5 years earlier, while standard landline penetration was about 15%. I now had to decide how much more wireless could grow. In analyzing who could afford a phone and who had access to credit, I thought wireless penetration could potentially reach 40%, or 40 million people, by 2007. Enter Carlos Slim, controlling shareholder of America Móvil. He saw a much bigger opportunity. In addition to the 40 million people I saw, he saw the other 60 million people in Mexico who wanted to communicate but couldn't afford to. So what did Slim do? He offered subsidized handsets and prepaid cards, making credit a non-issue. Sound quality was poor, but bad sound was better than no sound. Over the next decade, landline penetration increased a paltry 5 percentage points, from 15% to 20%, while wireless penetration roared past my prediction of 40% to 90%. And in the pursuit of profit, the technology got better. That's disruption. When I first heard Clayton Christensen speak about disruption at an industry event, I recognized immediately that his theory explained why mobile penetration was repeatedly beating my estimates. Part of the reason disruption can be so hard to spot is the timing. The growth curve can look totally flat for years, then spike upward very steeply. In Mexico, wireless became available in 1988. For almost a decade, penetration was less than 1%, but in the 5 years between 1997 and 2002, penetration ramped to 25%. As the pace of disruptive innovation quickens and you are in the midst of a crashing wave, what is unsettling can also be an amazing ride. This audio program isn't simply about coping with the force of disruption, but harnessing its power and unpredictability, learning to ride its waves, and to disrupt yourself. You may be trying something new, like leaving an established career to become an entrepreneur, as I did when I left Wall Street. You may be changing jobs within your current industry or company, or jumping to an entirely new field. As you'll learn in the chapters that follow, disrupting yourself is critical to avoiding stagnation, being overtaken by low-end entrants, i.e., younger, smarter, faster workers, and fast-tracking your personal and career growth. Understanding the S-curve. Our view of the world is powered by personal algorithms. We observe how all of the components of our personal social system interact, looking for patterns to predict what will happen next. When systems behave linearly and react immediately, we tend to be fairly accurate with our forecasts. This is why toddlers love discovering light switches. Cause and effect are immediate. But our predictive power plummets when there is a time delay or a nonlinear progression. One of the best models for making sense of a nonlinear world is the S-curve. This model has historically been used to understand how disruptive innovations take hold, why a growth curve will stay flat for so long and then rocket upward suddenly, only to eventually plateau again. Developed by E.M. Rogers in 1962, the S-curve model is an attempt to understand how, why, and at what rate ideas and products spread throughout cultures. Adoption is relatively slow at first, at the base of the S, until a tipping point, or knee of the curve, is reached. You then move into hypergrowth, up the sleek, steep back of the curve. This is usually at somewhere between 10 to 15% of market penetration. At the flat part at the top of the S, you've reached saturation, typically at 90%. Facebook, for example, based on a market opportunity of 1 billion users, took roughly 4 years to reach penetration of 10%. But once Facebook reached a critical mass of 100 million users, rapid growth ensued due to the network effect, i.e., friends and family were now on Facebook, as well as virality, email updates, photo albums for friends of friends, etc. Over the next 4 years,